Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, breadwinners, thread spinners, and all those in between, you're now watching the T&F Podcast with your favorite bipolar rock and roller, Mr. J. Curtis Strickland. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button, click on the bell for notifications, like this video, comment on this video, do all that good stuff. And also, if you want some official merchandise, go to hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. We do like movie themed shirts, and we do a few bands that have movie mock shirts on there. So check that out. Really good, high quality Bella Canvas tri blend polyester, 50%, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. They're really wonderful, good feeling shirts. All right. In the pipeline, we've got on the 17th of March, Brian Harris from Death Before Dishonor. That's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. John Marino, my good friend from the band Circle Back, is going to be on the 24th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, 24th of March. And then we might have a mystery guest on the 30th of March. We're working on that. And then Hoya from Madball and Scarhead, that's going to be on the 7th of April at 5 p.m. And then we rescheduled Joe Mustin and Johnny Smerdell from Advent and Beloved. It's going to be on the 14th. The 21st, Scott Vogel from Terror, Buried Alive, Despair. That's going to be at 5 p.m. on the 21st of April. And then Tim McMahon from Mouthpiece and Hands Tied. That's going to be on the 28th of April at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we're going to have a few more people. We just added a Wednesday show, so that's going to be typically at 8 p.m. But sometimes we amend the times, and we had some technical difficulties, so we're getting started here. I would like to introduce my guest. She's a really funny LA comedienne. She is a alumnus of Second City. She's been performing for most of her life, and I actually got to catch her show at the Fourth Wall Comedy Club in Hollywood Boulevard, where I was chastised by the proprietor club, but it was fun. It was a great time, and I'd also like to thank Joe Bando, my good friend, for setting this up. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Abby Schachner. What's going on, Abby?
Well, I'm here. I'm happy I'm here and figured out how to get online. That's impossible for me. So this is I'm adjusting. I'm gathering my items. I'm doing a daily therapy program. I didn't, not that I intended to talk about it, but I steal the snacks because I've gotten took home a handful of snacks because I've forgotten to take them the other day.
Oh, what you got there?
I took home peanuts. I took home
Okay.
some fruit strips, and then I have nature. They take a nature sweet and salty or whatever, and this thing, another one that
Oh,
I ate.
nice.
Yeah.
Those are the Trader Joe ones, right?
No, this is a Nature Valley. This is
No,
Vons.
the fruit strips.
Oh, I don't know because I don't usually get these things for myself.
Oh, but you stole them?
I took them, yeah. I've been collecting a little pile, and I've realized I forgot the past few days. Here's my dog. Hey, come over here. Oh, his ball went under the thing. Can I bring
Oh,
you with
no.
to the ball?
I hate when that happens.
The ball is under.
The
I'm
ball
bringing.
singular. Yeah, no, I get what you're going with that. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know. So here it got lost under the ottoman, so we gotta lift it up.
Oh, well, that's but sometimes my dog makes a cameo. He's a little hellion though, but so you're doing therapy. That's great. I'm also involved in therapy as well. But let's talk a little about you. You've, like I mentioned at the top of the hour, you've been performing uh, for like most of your life, and you kind of got started out at Second City in Chicago. What can
Yeah.
you tell us about that?
Well, I'm gonna assume that it's still like the improv capital of the world, but like I went there and I read a book in Ann Arbor called Something Wonderful Right Away, and I was living in Toledo at the time. That's where I'm from. Where are you from?
Well, originally from Florida, but I spent 20 years in North Carolina. I was up 6 years in Los Angeles, um, all over the all over the city, like Los
Okay.
Feliz. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's not where I live anymore. I'm in North Hollywood, but I want to get myself back over there because I don't walk on hills anymore.
Oh
and
no.
I can feel it in my thighs and my ass, and just maybe breathing in general because I'm in flatlands. But no, Chicago's a great town if you're a Midwesterner or any place. But I mean, it's a major city if you're from the Midwest, and
Lived in
it's
Montana for a while.
okay. You were in Montana?
Yeah, I guess that's technically Midwest, but yeah.
No, it's not.
No,
Montana,
I mean it's not like Midwest like Michigan
yeah,
and
Indiana.
Illinois and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But wait,
I
where
guess
in
it's the
Florida?
West.
Where in Florida are you from?
I lived in was born in Fort Lauderdale. Lived all over the state. Lived in Gainesville a few years ago for about 2 years, but yeah, haven't been back there otherwise.
Yeah, my mom just died, and she lived in Palm Beach.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay, but and I used to go spend a lot of time in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Hollandale.
Yeah, yeah. Hollywood was actually born in Hollywood, so it was pretty fitting that I ended up in Hollywood, California eventually.
Yeah,
It's like full circle, you know.
exactly. But I'm sure many Hollywood people out here don't know about Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, it's kind of the pits. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Bully. Um, you've seen that movie? Yeah, it's that's Hollywood, Florida, right there,
Oh, okay.
Broward County. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. And I remember just going to Florida when I was younger, and I thought that they like boys from there, like as an eighth grader, moved a little faster. They were a little. I feel like kids were fast in Florida.
Yeah, I could definitely relate, definitely. So you started your career at Second City, and how was that? You got to deal with some pretty interesting alumni there.
Yeah, when I moved there, it was really, I mean, when I moved there, it was really Steve Carell, Steve Colbert, Amy Sedaris, and other very talented people, John Najalovitz, Dave Rosowski, who teaches a lot out here. They were all on the main stage and just very talented. And then a crew like Adam McKay. I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote he wrote or directed The Big Short,
Oh
and then
yeah.
he won an Oscar and he did that movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio. Was it something about the end of the world? Remember
Oh, I
it
don't
was on
know.
Netflix. Well, he's done a lot of shit, but
Okay.
in Anchorman and all that stuff. But he was there, and Tina Fey was there, and it was just an interesting time to be in Chicago. You
Sure.
know, it's a good theater town.
What sparked your interest in performing?
Oh, I think expression is my thing. I think like I value expression and creativity, and I think it just was a nice outlet. In my senior year in college, I wrote a show, and then I think that nobody put me in shit. Like I was never one of those people that like you would cast me in the Crucible or something. But but I just I think just the desire to write. I think really writing is the ultimate. Writing was what led to performing. Had a lot more angst to it, and
Sure.
fears attached. But
Yeah,
writing and
the Crucible's never one that I got to perform, although it's one of my favorite plays. But yeah, I never got the opportunity to land it. But yeah, definitely writing is like, you know, it can be very cathartic, and it's also, you know, one of those things where you can kind of be behind the scenes and kind of have more control over where the story goes and what have you. Was that something you started doing when you were like even younger?
yes, I think as a life tool, maybe a crutch. Because like I remember even like 20 some years ago going to a wedding with someone and like feeling uncomfortable and then just going and writing in my journal, in my notebook. I don't know if I journaled, but like I definitely had to channel feelings through it. Like channeling discomfort. Is definitely something that I've done um, with writing. And jokes kind of crippled me. I got to be honest. Jokes have crippled my ability to like write freely. And now that I'm in this therapy program, like I'm going every day, John. I go every day. Like my friend suggested her therapist. I'm going to shut this window because I can hear the rain.
Sure, sure.
But like,
Yeah, therapy.
yeah,
Well,
my
it's
friend
a
suggested.
doozy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I'd gone on and off, in my life starting at 14, but like I feel like nothing hit deep. Like maybe I never got the right therapist, or I learned because I started so young that if you have like you don't even know what you need. And even now I don't necessarily know what my needs are. I don't necessarily know how to like, or I'm not necessarily comfortable labeling an emotion, even though I feel them. But yeah, so but writing's always been a part, but I do think jokes like kind of crippled me to just be joke centric. It's sort of an addiction. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what your relationship to stand up is. It seems like you're kind of involved in like music. You're a music lover,
I
or
had a
maybe.
limited run of stand up, like maybe about 10 years ago, but it's never something I really pursued. I don't think I could deal with the hecklers. I think I just go off on them Bill Burr style.
Well, maybe that's good because I've yet to fully deal with. I don't even know if I know how to do that because I feel like maybe look at it's an endless, maybe music is the same way. Like it's an endless craft. Like I feel like there's so many things to deal with, manage, discover, ways to express yourself in stand up. So I just yeah, I mean, hecklers, I don't know when they'll come. I'm sure I've had
Never
people.
dealt with one.
Yeah, I mean, one time I had someone, made a rape joke, and it was an interesting thing. I actually brought it up today in therapy. But not because it was traumatizing, but just like that someone had an issue when I mentioned something that had to do with my life, and just calling it like rape light or light rape. I said the kind that you can hug after, that kind of rape. And like, and someone had an issue with that in the audience, yet then the guy went up after me and was so sexual, so gross, so like disrespectful woman. She was losing her shit with him. So like I find it's all like interesting what triggers people, you know?
She thought he was hilarious and not
Yes,
you.
hilarious. Um, I don't, yeah. So I would think that a heckler, I guess I'm a person that would kind of like, I swing on to the next thought. So I probably need more, and maybe this therapy program has allowed me to like almost feel a little more vulnerable when I'm on
Sure.
stage, but I kind of like getting the energy to swing from the next rope. I don't necessarily know where I'm heading, which isn't always good. I don't know if that's the right way to do it all the time,
Sure.
especially under angst. And there's so many unknowns. For comedy and probably for music, but for comedy, it's like every time you step on a stage, it could be a different stage, a different place, different people. And it's hard to know even then, like what you need. Like when I'm on a small stage, I could feel confined. I might need space. I might need to move around or get off of it, but I don't always know until obviously you don't like getting small. Probably for any artist, you don't want to like turn smaller because that doesn't necessarily feel good, and it might, corrupt the expression, the
Sure.
freedom, the freedom of
Sure.
expression.
And therapy seems to be something that's kind of preeminent with a lot of performers. Like I remember, Bando came on this show and he was like, "Yeah, performers are all mentally ill," and I'm like, I guess that kind of checks out a little bit, But I mean, as long as it helps, I suppose. I've been in a lot of therapy situations, and I think it tended to be more damaging than it was helpful.
I understand that. I mean, like, so what I was going to say about this thing that I'm doing is that my friend suggested her therapist. And then she said, like a few weeks ago, I mean, I jumped into this thing fast. So my friend a few weeks ago said, Abby, and I like this friend. She's kind of a newer friend, but I've known her for a while. But she said, you should see my therapist, which I think is weird because I've had friends like recommend, or I've recommended friends, or they've recommended me, and I go. We're talking years ago, and then they don't take you. So like, this person feels bad, or you feel bad. But she suggested a therapist, and then she said, like within 2 seconds, like, wait a second, my therapist started a trauma program, and I thought, that's what I need. Like, and I don't call any of this, I didn't call what my experience was as trauma, but I don't use half the words that people use when it comes to this stuff. But I thought I needed something more intensive, like I feel like I've lived on the planet for a while, and there's some things that are a little bit crippling, even to do stand up. It's like to say I don't know how to do it when I'm getting, how do you advance if you like feed yourself all this negative shit, you know?
Right.
So,
And I looked at one of your other interviews, and you had mentioned something about that, how you shouldn't, be necessarily so self-deprecating, and that, because that can kind of, hold you back a little bit.
well, that's exactly another thing too. Honestly, in stand up, so like I'm not a grateful individual. I should work on my gratitude or should whatever, but I'm like should but
Good.
okay, dear Lord. Okay, so but I am grateful for stand up for like letting me hear myself talk about myself because the way I insulted my childhood. Now I'm in the trauma program. I'm like, you know what? I'm romanticizing my childhood. I can see somewhere the glitches might have happened just a little bit later. Maybe my childhood wasn't traditional, but like I think the issues started happening a little bit later, and then I also insult myself sexually, and like I don't want to feel that way forever. I don't want to see myself like that.
Sure.
So I'd like to overcome that. That's why I got into stand up to begin with. Like I wanted to overcome myself. And I guess maybe you can never fully overcome yourself, but you certainly I guess can like take steps to like not have the same issues you've had for decades,
Sure. Do
you
you
know.
feel like that's been helping you though? Like
Well, I mean,
being
well, go ahead, ask.
Well, I was going to say, like, there's a certain level of like vulnerability that comes with, performing and especially doing stand up, because it's like you're putting out your real persona out there, much like this podcast. I kind of have to just be me most of the time. So do you find it like cathartic that you can be able to kind of express yourself and, kind of like get that out, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, I am in therapy, like, I mean, I mean,
So maybe not.
I didn't know I had so many tears is what I'm saying. But like
Sure.
in stand up, I think when, cause like past couple of weeks, I had like, like a handful of shows. I had like 5 shows and I felt very vulnerable also because I'm used to smoking my weed before them. And like, so now I'm not smoking my weed. I was smoking after, but apparently I was told in the trauma program, we're here to be not smoking weed. So then I'm like, oh shit, because I'm hooked on baby Jeters. So today's just day 3 without weed.
Baby
Um,
Jeters.
oh my, have you ever smoked one or no?
Oh, that was they're fantastic. I don't smoke anymore as well, but yeah,
I
that was one of my
drool.
go-tos.
Drool. I salivate when I think of these baby Jeters.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm s I salivate. So is it helping my stand-up? I don't quite know yet, but, um, I don't think it can hurt, I don't think what I mean, I feel like these people are so good at what they do. It's like I have, like, 5 different like, every day I do a group and I do a private. And so it's 3 hours every day except the weekends. And some people are there longer. Some people are living in treatment houses right now. They come from all over. So I'm on a half time, but I don't think it's gonna hurt me. But will I fall back to what I know and just live on baby Jeters and too much cycling jokes that like and with no space in my head? I really hope not because I really don't want I jokes are great and comedy's great too, but like addictions aren't. And I feel like comedy, a lot of us are addicted to it. Are musicians
Sure.
the same way? Are they you become addicted to music?
My last guest on here said that he was like a creativeaholic or like a projectaholic, and that like, you know, what he used to kind of replace his substance abuse was, just doing creative projects. And I could definitely relate to that. And that, got this podcast, got the t-shirt company, doing a band, doing voice acting, doing all that stuff, so it's like, and writing as well. So I don't know though. I think that, that can it's definitely more beneficial because like you're putting something out there that, from a completely superficial standpoint you can make money at, and you're not, harming your body or affecting your, psychological equilibrium, so that I think that, that may not necessarily be a bad thing. I come from a place where I used to just, stay up late at night though, and not, my sleep would be affected. I still struggle with that, but I think, much like, some people can drink in moderation. I cannot, but I think that, if you do those things in moderation, it ends up being more productive than destructive.
Right. So like I'd like to do comedy in moderation in my mind. I mean, I already
Mm.
do, but like, yeah, I mean, like, because murder shows aren't going to kill me, but like I OD on those too. Like I can't go to sleep without murder. I wake up to murder. I already have one. Like this morning, I was going to wake up. I wanted to watch a 48 hours that seemed new. They're never new. I've watched every
So like
murder.
the true crime stuff then.
Yes, I mean true crime. I like reality shows too. I mean, look at I feel like this. I just feel like everything is either set up to make you ADD, which I don't have, which I've never been told like I'm bipolar. I've never been told that I have, but I did have an eating disorder when I was young. And honestly, that is where probably the majority of like a lot of my pain comes from. I realize I've never talked directly about it because I think it was so shameful because I was like put in the hospital at 14 and like I lost all my friends and I really never got back on track. Like I can see in my life, repeating some things, just more of the psychological things, not like just a lot of protective stuff. And so I didn't know that there was a lot of pain there. Like I had a lot of pain there, how much that hurt. And then I needed to be comforted. And instead I got shamed, when what led to it and why I did that. It's like sometimes parents, I mean, I love my parents, but I think sometimes, when you need something, they don't know how to give it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's interesting though that you should mention the true crime stuff because I'm a guy that likes to go to sleep watching horror movies, so I can totally relate there. But it seems like that's a phenomenon among women is they'll watch like they'll get super addicted into true crime. Is that something that like to kind of like keep you on your toes? Because I know there can be a lot of shifty and shady people in LA, or is it you just
oh,
find it fascinating?
I don't even know if I find it fascinating. I almost find it gross. I mean, like, I wish I'd watch a classic film. I'm like, God, put on some type of watch Body Heat or something. Watch, something like I'll watch Fatal Attraction. No,
It's
it
a good
doesn't.
one.
Although my father did hire a hitman to kill my mother when I was like 6 years old, but but it was an undercover cop. And obviously she lived, but years before he died, he told me that he was set up. He knew the guy and so he was like, if you're going to mess with me, I'm going to mess with you. I'm going to take it to the limit and so I could seem like a goofball on a Dateline when they're like, my dad didn't do it. And you're like, he certainly did, you dumb fuck. He did that. And so like, maybe I'm still an idiot because maybe it's true. I don't know. I never really got full answers, but I always appreciated my dad would answer. Like one time when I was done with, when I finished my senior year in college, I ended up working at a theater festival and I would ask my mom questions about it and she'd be like, ask your father, he tried to kill, whatever. But I asked my father finally when I was done with college, I said, you put $11,000 in the glove compartment to kill mom. And you know what he said? He said, it was 10. And I appreciated, like, I always liked that my dad didn't shame me. He would kind of like, but then right before he died, he was sitting on a curb and it looked like the last pages of The Giving Tree. And he was having trouble breathing. He was sitting on a curb wearing a trench coat. Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree when he's sitting on the stump and he's like, cut the tree down. But my dad was having trouble breathing. He was sitting in his trench coat on a curb and he just said out of nowhere, he's like, she set me up. I knew the guy, and on a plane, he approached him and he's like, if you're going to fuck with me, I'm going to fuck with you. Like if you're going to mess with me, my father was very triggered because he was very cheap. I mean, bizarrely cheap, like, but he was also a doctor and he was also like the biggest slumlord in Toledo, Ohio. There were billboards and he was number one. They'd list 10 slumlords, and he was number one. But like, but my mom married the man down the street who had money and who, looked like he lived large, I suppose. And I think my father was like, well, fuck you. I'm not going to pay you alimony. I'm not going to pay you. If you're married, if you're with this guy, screw you. Because it was very triggering to him,
Yeah. Wow.
So no, I don't watch murder shows. I don't watch to keep on my toes. I don't know why I do it. But I guess if I had to break it down, there are some murder shows that I like better than others. Like I like I guess sometimes I like when money's involved. I like seeing, but I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I like. I like when money's involved.
Yeah, well, and I've been told they're like, oh, that stuff kind of affects your psyche, which I think it does to a certain degree, but like I I genuinely enjoy horror movies. I mean, I've been watching them since I was a kid. I wasn't really allowed to watch a lot of the real violent ones when I was a kid. I got to watch a lot of the universal like horror films, like your classic, Dracula, Frankenstein and stuff like that. But it always left me kind of wanting more, and I was always like looking for you know, oh, you're not allowed to watch the Friday the 13th movies because they're really bad. Now you look at them in retrospect and they're like super tame, like compared to what we have today. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's, you can, I guess it's a matter of, again, that whole moderation thing where you just, um, maybe lately I've been listening to a lot of spiritual literature to go to sleep, versus, having somebody being axe murdered in the background.
When I go to bed sometimes too, I like listening to missing bad hiking stories. And I think
Oh,
the last one I listened to was somebody was going to meet his wife like 9 days later. He was going on a hike, and then somebody else started the hike. He never showed up, and then someone else started the hike and saw a man in the distance and was calling his name. But this guy, he got trapped between two rocks and he could never get out. He couldn't get out. So he got stuck and just died. And he had his notebook, I think, next to him, so he could write, but he was trapped. He couldn't move, and his legs were, he couldn't escape. So one of those stories that so he was just like preserved, like it looked like he was meditating, but he just was stuck between rocks.
Jesus.
It looked beautiful though. I mean, the area looked gorgeous.
Oh, that's the silver lining, I suppose.
Yeah, like he had a nice view while
Wow.
he died.
So when did you really start going like full bore into stand up? Like, how long ago do you think that would have been?
Honestly, I really think that I mean, I think I wanted to, because then when I was in Chicago, I also got into doing solo shows, but I never talked directly about my life. I would do it like a second skitty, like a second. And you said April earlier, but it sounded like Papril. So like that Papril, I might take on, like, maybe I'll get monetarily into, get my shit together, and I'll experience Papril. But and when I was in Chicago, I started doing the solo shows, and I kind of did a more like, I take a theme and then I do like kind of like a whole show around the theme, but not talking, because it was character songs. I mean, maybe some stuff, but not really revelatory about myself. People would infer things. Like one time I had a piece of Swiss cheese tell me to put my finger in his hole. And then someone called me up after and asked me if I had been sexually abused. And I was like, no. But they thought that I was kind of sneaking that in with this cheese, that, he was like, he was the holy one. So he was like a mentor who took advantage of me, which is odd. But you asked me about stand up. I think I was craving something like that, but solo shows, you kind of have to, it doesn't have a community really. I mean, they're doing a festival right now, and maybe people take the same class or something, but like they also filter out being similar a little bit. So like I think I really honestly started stand up after the whole Louis thing. I started after that. I started after that because I didn't have, like, I needed a voice. And not that I talked directly about it. I think as someone who went through it, you would have thought that I would have talked more about that. Do I have bits about it? Yes. Do I do it? I don't even know if I've ever done my Me Too stuff for a show. I might, maybe I will over the weekend. But I think that that's why, because it's really hard, honestly, and I know you probably want to ask me about it, but the fact of the matter is, when I came out in the Me Too movement, you can assume what you wish, everybody else does. But the fact of the matter is, I think that it's so beyond your control when you do that. It was so much bigger in the fact that you talk to one reporter, and then the next thing is, it's like it's on all these news outlets. Everybody's got an idea, an opinion about you, an opinion about them, an opinion about whoever. And honestly, you have no voice, you have no control. So like it was just, and and you can assume whatever you want, but it's not always that way.
Right. Well, and there's two sides to every story too,
Yeah. And yeah, two sides to every story, and everybody's different. How can you, I just told you that my father hired a hitman to kill my mother, who was an undercover cop, but that I love my father, so it's like, I actually am very forgiving for people who make mistakes. But I think we're all coming, when it came to that, or like, look, it took the pressure off of priests, the Me Too movement, but like the chronic and compulsive behavior of Weinstein or Cosby or Epstein, like, I don't think, or like the Boy Scouts or whatever, is that I don't think, I feel like that was kind of a new reveal, like a new reveal how compulsive some of these people are, and I'm not saying Louis one of them. I don't know who Louis, but I know he did it to some people, and he seemed to have a little bit of a heyday when he was doing it, and maybe picking certain people that weren't in his community directly to do that. Because I know that the other girls were, two of them were improvisers. I was an improviser, so I'm not in his world. So I don't know, but I assume he had some type of glitch, to put people in that position.
Yeah. Yeah. And was that the stand-up kind of, was that kind of a form of, I guess you could say, therapy, as dealing with that sort of trauma?
Well, I didn't talk about it then. I don't think, well, actually, what happened was, I think I learned, maybe, I got more than just that. That's not my identity. That's one little fucking thing,
Sure.
But then I was made fun of in 3 different Dave Chappelle specials. He picked me out of the group. Making fun because I was on the phone, and like in New York Times creatively edited something I told them. So when it came out into the newspaper, someone tweeted, Judd Apatow tweeted a section with my name on it, and like, I don't look at Twitter. Someone sent it to me. And then I get a phone call from the New York Times saying they recognized what they did. So they saw this tweet too, because it's Judd Apatow and it's dealing with the Me Too, and it pulled my section out of it. And they knew what they had done. They creatively edited it,
Yes. Yeah.
They creatively did that. And so that's what spins out, like that's what gets seen. Not, it's really like, maybe even the tweet got more. I think Dave Chappelle saw Judd Apatow's tweet where he called Louis a dream killer. And so he took that Louis ruined my dreams, and he made an MLK joke, and then he had a whole bit like, there's, just any, it was running those specials. He's doing the specials, like quick specials, or so whatever. But he picked me to, say like, is that harmless that someone doing that would ruin your dream? Well, that always bothered me though with the Dave Chappelle thing, because people had a lot of ideas when Dave Chappelle rejected $50 million when he, or that threw him to Africa, or they said he had a mental breakdown. And Dave can like look back in hindsight and reframe it and everything. But who are you to talk about how someone reacts to something? You have no fucking idea what led up to it. When that happened with Louis, I had been I think a few weeks prior, I was served papers on a stage. I was sued and I was served papers on a stage. My dad had died 6 months earlier. I was cut out of my, my stepmom's life. She ended up marrying my dad's best friend, or was with my dad's best friend, said I was a bad daughter. You don't know what the fuck is going on in someone's life to make that, it's like, and who is he to judge? And who is he to not have an understanding of that, but it's not his job. His job is to do comedy and to defend his friend. That is one thing I respected about him. I don't expect when somebody has an issue for all their friends to get on social media and diss them. Like, I find that kind of low tier too, unless you really think, this is, absolutely abhorrent. But I don't also like the way people expect people to do that. I think that's a lot to ask from somebody. Because if you're somebody's friend and you have an understanding of them, or maybe I don't know. I mean, I just think that people, people are just fucked sometimes. They just.
And you mentioned the like selective editing thing, and I think that's something that, like Hollywood and the entertainment industry, they love doing that. And there's people they will herald and champion, and then there's others that they'll, eviscerate. And, that's kind of part of the reason that I left Hollywood, is because I don't, it's just such a toxic culture, and it's so, like, everybody's got their own version of the story, but there's only like so much that gets out there. And you're dealing with like two uh or multiple types of individuals, and everybody's going to have their own perspective on it, so it's like, um it's really kind of disheartening to see that, they want to approach things from one way. And it's I don't understand it myself.
It's funny though that you say that, because it's like even with stand up, it's like I have to realize that, like, the way I talked, like I said, I ended up in this program because I didn't like the way I talked about my childhood, and I didn't like the way I insulted myself sexually, or intimately. And but realizing that creation, we can reframe that too. It's like, then talk about what you do want, like you can make that funny too, or you can, it's like, there's the other side to that, like that you can look at it from in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as someone who's dealt with trauma in his life as well, um, I had to, going back to that whole projectaholic thing, that seems to be the best way to kind of keep your mind off of, any of your life's pitfalls or whatever. It's inherently like it seems just way more constructive than, picking up the bottle, or, I loved picking up the joint. That was one of my favorite things to do. And that's, I was talking to my previous guest about being in like a recovery program with, drugs and alcohol and substance abuse. They just talked about it so much that was all that I thought about. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. I didn't have a drink today. I didn't smoke today. And it's like, I didn't shoot heroin today. And it's like, geez, all this sounds so enticing. I just want to go and do it now.
Oh my God, I'm getting warm now. I mean, like I said, I was doing it every night, but I found myself for 3 weeks of the program. And then I was thinking, I really look forward to this thing. And then on this past weekend, I said, on Saturday night, I just kept on smoking to no reward. Like, I understand that the first puff can reframe, can reframe my thoughts, but it's the second, third, fourth puff, or when I'm keep on going back. And then on Sunday, I just thought I was going to give up everything. I thought on Sunday, I thought for Monday, I'm going to give up cigarettes, vaping, and weed. But I ended up giving my friend my cigarettes and my baby Jeters, fresh baby Jeters. Every time I say it, I get juicy in my mouth. I'm just like, if I ever get dry mouth in the future, I'll just think about baby Jeters, and it's mouth watering. But I uh I gave him all the stuff, and then I said, "Fuck it, I'll just do the Jeters." And I can't believe it though. I haven't made it without a day of weed probably over 20 years.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
and the baby Jeters really became like, it's like I've got weed right within arm's reach, but I'm not interested in regular weed. I'm interested in my kind of weed, like,
And that was, I tell a buddy of mine, he was like, "Oh, I'd never live in LA." I'm like, "You'd love it, man. You could just walk down the street and go into a store and just get whatever you want." I was like, that was my pitfall. I was smoking my weight in weed, and it was just like, as somebody that deals with, mental shit, like it was just exacerbating and it was just making it worse. And like you said, like the whole yeah, yeah, you get kind of a benefit from one blast of it, but then after a while, it's just like it just becomes like routine and mechanical, and you're like, why am I doing this? And it ultimately like loses its romance after a while, especially when you have stuff to do during the day.
well, I mean, I got to be honest. I think I said fuck it to stuff. I mean, to tell you the truth, like I'm a little scared when this program ends because I really don't have structure. And it's not that I don't do stuff, but like even when I do, because I illustrate children's books, and I do, and I like comedy, but I do things to a certain level, and I do them, on the creative side. But the other side I bail on, the other side. So it's like I don't ask people to, I'm a certain level. I don't ask people to do shows. I don't send my work out. I don't, so there's work that needs to be done. But I have
Sure.
lived in my own little cloud for, and maybe, maybe a little bit of an enablement, which I didn't ask for, which also I resent. I feel like I've been enabled, now my parents are dead. So now I think it's like I realize I have to do it myself. I can't blame them anymore. I can't blame my
Sure.
mom anymore. Um, Under the guise of protection, she was doing that to protect me. But now I'm
Right.
starting to think I wish I would have just flunked out of school, or just she used to type my papers, and then it started where she changed my things, and then by my senior year in high school I just yell at her while she picked her own topics. I mean, it's like fuck you, like, I mean, it was bad. And like I kind of just wish, like, losing, or like things when you say what you need, like, don't do this, and they do it anyway, and like, and you're an adult already. But she always had her hands on me. And honestly, I mean, I'm sorry that she's gone. I am very sorry. I miss my mother every day, but like, and it's been only like 6 months, but I need to get my shit together. Like, it's like I don't have structure. I've lost concept of time, and this
Right.
town doesn't hurt that, help that either.
Oh, not at all.
Like,
Not at all.
so
I
between
could go
weed,
I could go days for like without knowing. I'm like, what's today? Like, and being it like a freelance type person, it's it's freeing, but at the same time, it is confining in that, structure does, it does have its benefits. I don't like to adhere to too much of a rigid structure anymore, but there's a few things that I do every day that I just try to get done every day, whether that be, meditation or, have you ever done the cork board approach?
no, but I have a lot of cork boards.
So
But I
you take little note cards and you write something you want to get done down. You've got like your long-term goals and you've got like maybe something you want to get done during the day, whether it be like, oh, let's clean the bathroom or let's submit for some auditions or something like that. And you put that on the cork board, you write it on the little index card, tack it in there, and then when you get it done, you pull it out and it's like, oh, there's this feeling of accomplishment. And it's like it gives your brain like this oxytocin release because it's like, oh, okay, I accomplished something today. I did something today. And I was really on that for a while until I got my dog. And then, the tax posed kind of a like a health hazard to him. So I haven't been doing it as of late, but I try I try to at least get something done every day. And I've been in situations where the structure was absolutely rigid and where, there was no deviating from that structure. And so it's kind of a nice balance,
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even done a to-do list, in ages. I don't go to a grocery. I used to just go stone and very hungry to a grocery store. You should see. I mean, I still don't know how to go to do the grocery store correctly because I get stop, Alexa. I don't know how to turn her off. Okay, I think I turned her off. Okay,
I just throw her out the window.
I inherited it from my mother, and Alexa became my friend. Um,
Oh,
but sometimes she talks too soft, and then now she tells me the weather when I don't give a shit when I didn't ask. Anyway, yeah, I have to figure out structure. But it's funny because you say that about rules, and a lot of times, like with stand up, sometimes when I'm worked up and I think that I don't do it right or that they're the rules, realizing that like you learn the rules and then you break them. But I'm very rule I don't like rules. I don't like that. I'm rule resistant, yet I have my own rules that I feel like that they're, it's like you got to be a human. You got to let yourself, it's like kind of cuckoo sometimes the
sure.
way we, I don't know, function or think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it seems like, if you do have some standards for yourself and you do have some things that you try to uphold, that it will be ultimately beneficial for you, like, I mean, I, I, I think that, goal setting is a good thing. I think that, you know, um, yeah, maybe just trying to get up. That's a hard one for me, is getting up at the same time every day. I used to be very good about it, but now, I don't have to report to anyone, or I don't have to do, uh, I can kind of guide my own ship. I wish, see, here's the plan, is to be able to do this every day. I would love to be able to do that because it does give me structure, and okay, I got to wake up at this time. I got to set up every time, and so it seems to be more beneficial to actually, uh, have something to do. I wish somebody else ran this joint for me. I think that would be great, where I just had to show up, but it's great to be able to put in a lot of the actual legwork, because you can see something that you've created start to blossom and, do great things. And so I think that's absolutely wonderful. And you mentioned that you were an illustrator for children's books. How did you get started in that?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you that my stuff has been published, but I wish I could find something. I gave Bando some. Um, well, I've always been writing. I've always wanted to write for children because I think besides being the local bag lady, which is I got to change some of my view. My comedic goal is to perform at exit ramps. If you must know, I feel like if I performed at exit ramps, I would get very good at crowd work, like talk about crowd work and stuff, and
Is that a
learning how to.
club?
No, it's an exit ramp at the end of the.
Oh, an actual exit.
Yes. So I wanted to be the local bad. I know, but then I feel bad. Like I have weird. I just. I mean, I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. I wish I was, but like, so like, I always want. I romanticized the bag lady growing up, and then I also wanted to be Shel Silver. Love Shel Silverstein. So like,
Sure.
I've always sort of like just creating for children has always been an interesting thing. But then I thought it's better to be an illustrator and a writer, like to be able to illustrate your own words. So the one benefit of when I moved in with a boyfriend, I moved in with a boyfriend and I just illustrated all the time. I don't think the relationship was very healthy. So we, stayed in separate areas of the house, slept in separate areas of the house. I know it was probably so bad. It was so bad. I moved out thinking, I don't think I slept with him. Like I had sex with him one time while I lived there for a year and a month. It was not healthy. The relationship fell apart. But like
Yeah.
I was on my side and I just cultivated doing art. I just did art. But you can do art obsessively without any kind of like to the absence of everything else. It's like, so
Jackson Pollock.
I need to learn how to have one foot in the world. It doesn't feel good to like isolate yourself, even if you're, but I mean, like the last book I did, I could go get it and I know exactly where it is, but I, I do that though. I feel like sometimes if I'm afraid I won't finish something. So I
Sure.
have to just stay up all night. I pulled like probably 60 all-nighters during COVID. And my sleep is so fucked up. Like I think last night I went to bed the earliest I've ever gone, even though I was watching like a murder, like I had one eye on some type of Friday Night Light murders. There's a whole thing about like cheerleaders and football players being murdered, not just Texas, but just all around. So I was watching that, but I went to bed like at 12:30, but I can't, I've started, I don't get up early anymore. So it scares me. Like now I feel like I need to get a certain amount of sleep. So like although when I did the all-nighters, sometimes I'd push it through the next day, like stay awake because then you want to sleep normal. I don't
Oh,
know.
it's disorienting.
I know. I mean, I really have like that didn't help with my time problem either, like
Yeah.
just losing just bad habits, but like afraid to not finish, like but then sometimes it's crazy making. Like if doing Photoshop, let's say, or the computer stuff, intense computer work late at night is like not a good thing either,
Oh no.
it's glitchy, so like
Yeah.
yeah.
The EMF waves will keep you up. But like I don't always heed that. And I like to, watch something when I go to sleep, but do you think that, you'll are your projects completed? Do you think that's something that you will publish someday?
um Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm so used to being also impulsive when it comes to something scary. So like sending out a query letter to an agent or something. I do those kind of things impulsively, and that's probably something I need to sit on sometimes. Like write it, sit on it, look at it. And the structure of being organized who you send it to. I think sometimes it's like thinking it's okay, like sending something out. It's like you think you're gonna book a movie after three, good luck in Hollywood if you think you're gonna make it the first, audition. So it's like
Unless
I
you're
said,
Margot Robbie.
what? Really? She
Unless
did
you're Margot Robbie. I think like one of the first auditions she did was something pretty prominent.
You're right. I mean, unless it's kismet, unless the odds are in your favor and you're not a true fuck up and you're not going to destroy yourself later, or all those
Or run
things.
into people who will try to destroy you.
That's
That's
true.
that's the biggest thing in Hollywood is, coming from like the hardcore and punk rock scene. This is one thing that I've noticed. Like there's little rivalries and there's little like drama and tension, here and there, but never to the level that I ever experienced in Hollywood. I mean, there were just cutthroat people that would, throw you under the bus for the sake of a role, and I've never been like that. I'm like, let's cooperate and let's collaborate, and why do we have to have all this like mean spirited, like, you know shitty low vibrational attitudes towards each other? Like I just never have felt that way, I don't think, in my entire life. Like I was telling Bando, like I don't possess that bone in my body. I want to see everybody be successful, like.
Well, you're a good guy. I mean, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I feel like I want to see anybody. I'm gonna open my window so I can smoke.
Sure.
I don't know. Well, you're right. I mean, honestly, when I think about like that woman who sued me, that woman who served papers on the stage. Remember, I told you
Yeah, yeah.
that I would serve papers on the stage. That was like a has-been. And those are dangerous has-beens. And then I always thought wannabes are, and that was very early in my time out here. And it didn't feel good, and it made me question myself. And maybe I should, or I have a strong person. I mean, I don't think I'm a manipulative. I'm not manipulative, but I do have, I guess, a strong personality. But it is funny because I don't usually think that, but because I guess I don't want to destroy someone. I might get jealous, and then I even question that. But apparently that's just a feeling, and it doesn't mean I want to destroy you. It doesn't mean I want to. But I'll tell you, even in the open mic world, people for some reason sometimes take me and like they've signed up as one person said Abby Schachner should hang herself, like signed up in my, and I forgave him. Apparently I'm forgiving and I give men the benefit of the doubt. But he also apologized after he called me cunt and Joe Menente kicked him out, and then he apologized because he missed going to stand up at Fourth Wall. But then another person who I'm assuming, I think I know who it is, was a woman, signed up for me for 5 mics at a different place I've never been to, is crackhead Abby Schachner. Like I had an interaction with someone. So some people are manipulative, fucking, I mean, that's fucking fucked up. Like who does that? Who does that?
Yeah, because, it's not really you. And, people would just associate you with this false persona that somebody else created. Yeah, that's
Well, I
fucked
mean,
up.
I called up to say that's not me and take my name off of that, please. Take that down. And that person's never apologized, obviously.
Of course not.
Yeah, but I mean, I
But
mean, I would forgive you if you apologize. That's
exactly. Exactly. But people think that like apologizing is like being
weak.
Weak. Yeah, exactly. Like an apology is a form of weakness, and it's like, no, you did me wrong, or somebody knows that they did you wrong, and like let's just clear this like bad energy out of here. Like I've been slighted many times. I mean, it's part of the reason I left Los Angeles. Like and I know that I will never, never, never get an apology from these individuals. I just won't, and I've kind of had to accept that and be able to move on. Uh, and so, yeah, you feel low and you just feel like, how could you do something like this?
Well, I also get angry or triggered. I mean, I don't like people. Look at it. One thing that I don't like is I'm not. Maybe this wasn't my town. Like I probably, and I don't want to say should, but what would it have been like, to have gone to New York or something? I'm not a bullshitter. I don't like. I mean, maybe if the bullshit might be within my own self or whatever, but I am not going to bullshit you. I don't like that. I'm not a fakeo. I don't know how to do that. And so maybe
Right.
maybe I will suffer. I'm not a kiss ass. I don't like, sometimes I light up and I just like being around people, but other times I don't. But
Yeah.
But being a fake, I don't know. I've always been maybe as a maybe I'm self-absorbed in that negative way. I mean, I feel lighter from this program. To make it less self-absorbed. And I think not smoking weed, even the 3 weeks of not in the daytime, I think made me more able to like have a conversation with someone where it's
Sure.
not stuck in my own shame. And even weed is a bit of a shame, knowing that I did it. Like on the inside, it's like I can justify it. I can because I've been doing it for so long. But like I think a part of you knows that like you want to be real. Like you see, if you are around someone who doesn't do that, you're like, oh, this is a problem. Like these people don't do that thing that I do, like,
Right.
but then you justify it again. Like legalization allows you to be like, well, even though I knew I had a problem in 99 and 95 and whatever, fuck it. Now it's legal, or whatever.
How do you feel about that? Do you think drugs and narcotics should be illegal?
Well, I don't know because I mean, I guess uh, I mean,
It's a weird place, isn't it? Like
sometimes it's
because
not addictive is not true. I mean, we become addicted to whatever it is. It's like if you smoke that at the wrong time, and it fills that void, then that might be your thing. I remember one time when I was living with the fella, our cat was out all night long for the first time, and it was raining or whatever. And we came in for the first time, we gave him catnip. And I think I was afraid he was going to get like wondering if someone, even a cat could just kind of associate and then get it kind of hooked on this thing. But I don't have an opinion on it. I mean, because I'm just new to like, I don't even know if I'll make it through today without a baby jeter. I know where a stub is though. I found a stub, so I know right where it is. But like, maybe I should throw it in the rain tonight. Like it's, since I salivating thinking about it. But like, I don't know because I think so many things are addictive now. I mean, phones are addictive, and like you can feel shitty looking at Instagram. I watch bullshit television or scrolling to find the show and like little things that I don't like about those aspects, of being into that shit. But I think a lot of things can be addictive. Like it doesn't have to be that drug. People can
No.
become addicted. People, like in that eating show, like My Strange Addiction, they become hooked on couch cushion. Like it's like, or hand sanitizer. In even an intervention. Like or the computer cleaner. Who knows? Febreze. Whatever it is, you can discover it.
There was a woman that was addicted to huffing gasoline. It was the weirdest shit that I ever saw. She would she had like destroyed her teeth, but she could not quit
Yeah,
huffing gasoline.
yeah.
So bizarre.
What show? I want to watch it.
I don't remember specifically. I think I saw it on YouTube somewhere, but I'll send it to you because it was just like it was fascinating, because I was like, what is so compelling about this and what makes this so addictive? And her health was just destroyed, her life was just destroyed, but she could not stop huffing gasoline. And I was like, I don't get it, but okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, look at me, and I'm known for a long, I haven't wanted to smoke cigarettes since I was wearing a cheerleading skirt, but I'm still smoke. Maybe I wanted to smoke then, but like now, since I was at least 21 and like now the decades have gone by and I'm still doing it. And have
Yeah.
I stopped throughout a little bit,
Yeah.
sometimes, but then, I go back and it's hard to let go of.
You were a cheerleader then.
Rah, rah.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, well, I probably, I don't know why I was, but I was. Oh, my spirit. Oh, my spirit. That's why.
That's entertaining. Well, and like I was talking to Bando about this one. Like video games came back into my life probably about a few years ago. And I used that. I was on some heavy narcotics, and I always thank the creators of Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom for keeping me off of drugs. Because it's absolutely destructive and counterproductive in order to having a fulfilling life. And so video games not too great, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
know. I know. Even with my non-Baby Jeter new lifestyle of tonight, third day, I that like I ought not put too much pressure on myself with what I'm
Oh
accomplishing right now. Because
yeah.
honestly, today I woke up, my head was kind of hurting, and like
Yeah.
last night, I found myself falling asleep earlier. I mean, I woke up, but like kind of being very low energy. And I had gotten sober because I had a weed problem in 99. I said, and so I went to AA for almost 2 years. And then I went right
Sure.
back to smoking weed. But I was sober for almost 2 years. And I remember in the beginning being very tired, being very sleepy and like falling asleep in the daytime, which I never let myself do. And like, just and I kind of felt sleepy last night. And like I said, I woke up today and my head felt hurt, which I don't often get head issues
Yeah.
besides, mental goofness. But like, but I woke up with a thick head, like, but my brain is encased. I've smoked enough. My brain is encased in resin, and it probably it's like amber in there. It's like there's like my brain is encased, and it could use some loosening up.
Let's get back to comedy. Like, what do you feel about the current state of comedy? Because you used to be able to look back to these old HBO specials of yore, and there would be some very controversial language that probably wouldn't fly in today's society. Very controversial subjects that were
Oh,
essentially made light of by what I consider to be some of the greatest comics. What do you feel about the current climate in stand-up comedy?
I don't know if I can comment on that, but like I feel like people do still do those kind of. I still think. I mean, look at Dave Chappelle. People commented on him with his trans comment. I feel like people do make certain kind of jokes. I think it depends who it's coming from. Like I think, but it is unfair that like you unfair. I feel like I don't know. I don't like to put a rule on that. I'm not a person who who, I don't think you have to be gay to make a gay joke. I mean, I don't think you have to. I think it's just, I think maybe it has to do with, I don't know. I just don't think I feel like some things, I mean, really, it's like, who are you to judge as an audience member what someone is, how someone's processing something? It might come out the wrong way, or some
Right.
things might come out. I mean, Bando could be a good example, like,
And it was a great example.
but like, I think you're allowed to explore whatever interests you, like, I mean,
Sure. Well,
it's like,
and I've always kind of made the assertion like, look, there's going to be some hot button issues that are discussed here in a comedic fashion, and if you don't like it, you should probably not be there because that's kind of the territory, you
yeah.
know.
It's like
That's
rape, light,
my
and
two
light
cents.
rape. Like, who are you? The kind that you can hug at. I mean, I like it, but like, who are you to tell me, like, wait a second? But I mean, now, as a performer, when it's hard, when I don't know if it's the mental state before you get up there, but when a joke comes out sadder than you thought it was going to, and or the fact that a joke can work sometimes and not others, I feel like that has to do with us a lot of the times.
Sure.
How it's coming out, how we're framing it that particular day. I mean, like, we do have like emotions and things going on, and then there's an energy thing, and um I don't know though. I don't like putting rules on creation.
Yeah.
But I do understand that sometimes the way we talked about things or had an understanding. I mean, sometimes people would throw trans under the bus. Let's say like 20 years ago, that was a whole different kind of thing. You wouldn't,
Right.
or maybe using words, for, I don't even know if you're allowed to say handicap, but calling someone a cripple. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know. I don't always think it's as malintended. Um, but sometimes I guess you could listen back to an old set and you're like, oh, that's really close-minded. But I also feel like we've changed. Like, that's why I think it's weird when people ban people maybe from hosting like an award show for having
Ricky
a,
Gervais.
yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Ricky, and I don't know much about Kevin Hart. I don't know much about these people, but I don't think that, like, because I feel like to a certain extent, I'd like to think that most people understand that, like, things that shift, like culture shifts.
Right.
Like, and you got to be with culture to a certain extent. You can question it, but like, but maybe that's like questioning culture more than the people. Like, if someone wants to question non-binary, non-binary,
No.
you know, you can probably do it without insulting people who identify as non-binary.
Sure. I guess the reason I asked the question was because, there's certain comedians that they have specials that are all devoted to, diversity and inclusion and all these other things. And I'm like, why can't these people just be comics? Why do we have to pinpoint, oh, somebody's immutable or even mutable characteristics to where it's like, that becomes the framing point for, a whole subsection of styling of comedy. It's like, why can't these people just be comics? Why do we have to shine a spotlight on their sexual or gender identity or their race? Of course they can be part of the comedic narrative, but it's like, why? I just don't understand that whole focus, and that seems to be like coming out of a lot of things in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I know. Well, I mean, there were full sweeps, of certain things. I mean, institutions that changed. Um, I mean, the Me Too did that, like, where, I guess, like you were saying, there's two sides to every story. and sometimes, but then sometimes it reveals something about someone, but then someone's also sensitive or a movement happens and then you
And
question.
when I said that, I meant that, sometimes the other side doesn't get to tell their story, and then they're, eviscerated and mocked in stand-up specials. So I think it's important to be able to hear this side that's not being heard.
Yeah, yeah. But you're right. It's like it sometimes tips. It's like then, well, then the other side. I mean, I guess stand up was like a white men's thing, but then there are black men too that are very funny. And then
Right.
women were in there, but they were like little side people, which to a certain extent they still are. It's like I was looking on I for some reason now my phone tells me about Reddit stuff. And I don't know how I'm not even on Reddit, but it pops up. So I look
Yeah.
at it and I just see like man, very, very few women. Maybe there are just few women on Reddit, but like I, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like when you ask me like the Me Too stuff. It's like that's not my identity. That's a small portion of my experience.
Sure.
Do I have jokes about it? Yeah. Do I do them? Not that much. Could I do them? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not organized necessarily in my head with my jokes. So I let, which I don't always think is the best way, but like whatever comes is what is being said for better or for worse. So maybe I could benefit from some structure sometimes. But, you know,
One of your funniest jokes I heard was people in COVID talking about eating ass. I cracked up at
oh my God, I
that.
don't even remember it.
That's,
I don't even remember it.
you said that was something people were getting into in COVID. That was
I don't even know. I
like,
don't even know. I put all my notebook. I write in too many notebooks. I stick them away, and then I open them up, and I'm like, "What was that?" And then okay, but that's a good thing about comedy too. Then you can like bring it back, and it just feels as fresh. Or you forget what something was, and then you cycle and you try to remember, and then you remember it. And I don't. I don't know. I guess I got to remember though that stand up too, that people do repeat things. I see that, and to get better or smoother, sometimes repeating the thing or getting it so inside of you, or maybe making it not so difficult. Maybe sometimes it's like we make things so difficult. It doesn't need to be so difficult, you know.
yeah. How do you feel about like, because I was just having this discussion today with some folks about like joke stealing, because I know that goes on quite a bit in the comedic circles as far
Oh,
as like,
well, I don't know much about it, but like I feel like if someone crosses paths with, like, here, I think sometimes this isn't joke stealing, but like sometimes I think, and Zoom was an interesting way during COVID to like learn this. Like I'd think, okay, this is what I do, this is what I am, and then I'd see it reflected back. Someone else would be doing something. I'd be like, okay, that's not me. That's not joke stealing. That's just kind of a behavioral thing. But honestly, like I had a it's funny because like I have a rape whistle joke. I heard another woman with a rape whistle joke, and I wanted to tell her that I have a rape whistle joke too. So like if you hear it, but then I don't say it that much because I'm afraid she's said it at the places and I don't want to seem like I do think we cross energetically. You know how you can think something and then you see it in a commercial. You're like, wait a second, I had this great idea and there it is reflected right now. So I
right,
think I think the energy of life sometimes is that we do follow, like certain currents and you kind of hit on some things.
sure,
I honestly, if I mean at my level, I would think that we're on the same track, but I might have to avoid it. But then sometimes I would think, you know what? Look at my fucking notebooks or whatever, or like find a tape. Like I've been saying that too. Like it's not yours. I don't know I mean, if they were articulated fully the same, I would have an issue. I'm sure people do that. I hope to God I don't have to deal with that. And I'm not technically knowledgeable. You know how hard it took me. How would I know if people put things up? But I mean, I can only imagine though, if you weren't always generating material and then somebody did something that would be more triggering. But I guess it does happen, and you would think that the I don't know how you do deal with that. That would be very frustrating.
I tell you, I don't come from a joke stealing history as far as, comedy is concerned, but a buddy of mine and I wrote a Star Trek pilot, and we happened to do it right outside of a cafe next to the Paramount lot. And I remember walking in to go get a cup of coffee one day, and there were these three suits that were in there. They were, they had khakis and collared shirts and all that. And I remember walking by him, and right when I walked by him, he was having a conversation, and he said Star Trek like really loud, and I don't know, maybe it could just be me, maybe I'm reading into this situation, but were there eavesdroppers or people listening in on us? Possibly. I mean, because it, like I said, it was right next to the lot. It was right on the corner of the Paramount lot, and I was like, it kind of pissed me off because like I saw some of the things in the newer series that, you know, there was a ship that we had named that they named a ship after in the Picard series, and I was like, this can't be coincidence. I was like, there's no way. I was like, we named the show after the ship, and here they've got a ship in this show, and I was like, I don't know if it's one of those collective ethos things. I think it's just straight up theft, you know. So it kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame that it would, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel like there is an energy thing sometimes that like, and then other people have the pipeline a little faster to make it happen, and then you're just out, then it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. It's a damn shame. So besides performing on exit ramps, what are some of your comedy goals?
Oh, well, like I told you, ultimately, I mean, I'm not there yet in my daily therapy program, but, to get like what my life is going to look like after. But I mean, honestly, it would be to maybe perform with people who might have been scary at some point, like up the level.
Yeah.
Um, learn how to ask people, not be afraid. Maybe this is a remnant of the Louis stuff, but it also could be just something that I've never been comfortable with, but putting things on, like do reels, doing reels, taking myself seriously, acknowledging that it's not just play, there's work involved too. I think when it comes to creativity, I often don't value it as work. I think of it as learning or play. And like, it's like someone who values it as work might take themselves more seriously than someone who just thinks, well, you know, there's more to be had. Or, I mean, I guess just getting out of that mind space that like, I'm capable, I'm willing to show up, and that, to level up, or like when that you can be not living in a world where you're disappointed. This is like young shit, young baby shit, but like not
Yeah.
thinking you're disappointing people if they believed in you at one point and you end up doing like a bad job another point. Maybe consistency would be one, like consistency, um getting a better mental space before it so it's more fun.
Yeah.
Thinking you don't know how to do it when in times that it matters would be nicer to easier, to show up or have more fun. Um, I don't know. I mean, obviously it'd be fun to be a part of a club, or I don't know though, honestly, when it came to the weed and the drinking or just being older or lifestyle, I don't know how I feel about like touring or something. I mean, but I don't know, maybe I like the community, but the level I'm at, but like, I don't know, enjoy every second of it. That would be a goal.
It's a good
Enjoy
goal.
every second of it that you get to stand up there and express yourself, and be
Yeah.
less concerned about what you think about me and more concerned about my ability to affect you.
That is a fantastic answer right there. That's great. And the consistency one I think is a good one too. And I try to maintain that as well, just Bruce Lee has a quote where he says just make a little step towards your goal every day. It doesn't have to be like, a big stride or anything, but just take one step towards your goal every day. And I find that to be incredibly poignant and very helpful, So, um, as far as like comedic influences, who do you think have been your biggest, as far as, performers?
Well, of course, as a young improviser, Gilda Radner was one, and
Oh,
then
she's great.
yeah, but comedically, well, Rodney Dangerfield taught me how to write by watching his videos, one-liners.
Legend.
He's been a good one-liner good guy for me. But I like Greg Giraldo. I like Bill Hicks.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like those guys. I like George Carlin. Um, yeah, I mean, I like Dave Attell.
Oh, he's great.
Another one-liner good guy. I mean, I could watch Mitch Hedberg for one-liners, but he's a little different than maybe how I would, I guess the Jewish one-liner guys are easier for me to understand than like kind of see how that would work with me as opposed to like a Mitch Hedberg where it's silly, sillier. Um,
Yeah.
but he's talented too, of course.
Oh, sure.
But then
Dangerfield, I think, is a legend. I think he's one of the best.
I mean, the way he'd pop it, even at the desk, like he was nonstop. Now I wonder what that would be like today. Like someone, I mean, if you took that thing off, like what that would be like.
Yeah. It was interesting to see Dangerfield in his acting career too, especially when he did Natural Born Killers, because have you seen it?
Not in ages. He was in it. I don't remember.
He was the dad. He was Juliette Lewis's like abusive father, and he was terrifying. It was
Okay.
such a different you know a different turn for him as far as you see him up there on the stage being a funny man in front of Johnny Carson, and then it's like it's a complete like paradigm shift as far as his acting is concerned. He was a monster in that movie, and I was like, wow, I can't believe
Interesting.
this is Rodney
Well,
Dangerfield.
that's
Yeah.
funny that you say that. It's almost like interesting when we saw Andrew Dice Clay when he started showing up in movies, not as his character and like a
Yeah.
nicer guy, like
Yeah.
not that shtick, like a
Yeah.
loving father.
Yeah, he did that one a few years ago. I don't remember what it was. He played somebody's father.
Yeah, Lady Gaga's dad.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was that the remake of A Star Is Born?
yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
And then
that's
he was
right. Yeah, yeah.
in a Woody Allen movie too. I think he was in Blue Jasmine, but I don't remember what he was there. But like
Oh,
dropping
okay.
dropping the act. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because
So
it was an act.
yeah, exactly. Well, same with Rodney Dangerfield, obviously. So like, and I don't know about this modern culture with acts. Like when people say like or like a set. I don't know. I don't have those. I
Right.
know like a section of jokes or whatever and like sometimes you can run them or not run them together. You can pull them out and do them separately, like
Sure.
you don't have to do your whole thing about technology, your whole thing about murder show. You could just lay out one murder show and not go in the whole thing. But I mean, I don't understand like an act or a set. Like I don't understand because I feel like sets don't always work. Like you could stick to the set and it doesn't always.
I was never really a big Dice fan, truthfully. I did because I did kind of see it as an act, and when, you know, like he comes across as like a Guido Italian dude, but he's actually a Jew, and so it's like it's not his real persona. It's like a character, and I think it tended to work more in his like earlier films, but then to see him kind of be himself in these later like his later endeavors, I think it more kind of more true to who he is, and definitely was. Um, Kind of I think a great turn for him.
Yeah. I wonder in comedy if like do people do act are they acts or they seem like they're them. I mean that's the problem too. Sometimes I go to a show and I think someone's just talking and
Yeah.
so I think it's okay to just talk
Uh-huh.
um and then you got to watch it because you are doing. I mean you can just talk uh but I think
I
sometimes I'm deceived. sometimes
I
I'm
think there's
deceived.
like a musicality to like all performances to where there's certain rhythms and certain beats and stuff. I found that in writing and in filmmaking and things like that, to where it's that might not be how that person really talks in real life. I don't think Mitch Hedberg was as kind of awkward and goofy as he was in his stand-up routine. I think I've heard he was actually kind of more quiet even than he was, and it was kind of hard for him to get up on stage.
Right, right, right.
Um, so I think there's a level to performance, like a some sort of persona towards everything. But it's interesting when you can just be your true authentic self in any situation, truthfully.
Right. Well, it might be it might be really vulnerable to do that, but also like I got to remind myself that even if someone's doing a TED talk, they're still preparing, they're still presenting a certain section. They're not like, "Well, I'm depressed today, so I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to." And you're allowed to
Sure.
do that. But I mean, like if you're doing a TED talk, they want you to stick on their subject matter and present it. So it's like, I
Yeah.
guess the same with stand up. I mean, you have your life going on, but I guess you have to learn how to, you know, how are you
Yeah.
going to bring that? How can you be present with all of it, but still still have an intention to, like, I've got this much time to do, and I guess I'll talk about my life with my friends after, or
Sure.
something, or give
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
hint and not be scared if I don't want to be scared of it. But I
Yeah.
don't know. It's very, I mean, that's why I mean it's like an art that's like an endless art.
Sure, definitely. And I'm sure you could learn and grow as and definitely explore new kind of situations as far as your performance is concerned. One of the things as coming from a entertainment background, and I'm a movie guy myself, and you mentioned Body Heat and Fatal Attraction earlier. Murder movies, kind of crazy type movies. I always got to ask people
Picked
what
up
are some.
women apparently in those.
Yeah, well, that's some of my favorite ones to watch is like the Italian giallo films like Argento and stuff, where it's just beautiful, sexy Italian women, and then either they're killing or getting killed, and it's like it's kind of artistic, but it's horror and it's trashy. It's like classy trash, a little bit. So I always got to ask people like, what are some of their favorite films that they feel like have inspired them?
Oh, well, a movie that I keep on thinking that I need to see again is Terms of Endearment. I really like that movie.
Never seen it.
Oh, it's good because I'll tell you why I like that movie, or why I've liked it. But it concerns me because if I watch it again now, it's because every time I watch it, I relate to something different, and I think that I like that. And of course, I like Defending Your Life. I love Lost in America. I like Albert Brooks. I
Yeah.
um I liked Robert Alt. I like Robert Altman films too. But what
Ooh,
else? I was talking about. I like. What's the one with Jerry Lewis and Robert De Niro and Sandra
King of
Bernhard?
Comedy.
Yeah, I like King
Yeah.
of Comedy. Uh,
Nice.
um, yeah. What other
I'm a big
movies?
fan of Altman's The Player because I felt like it pretty much encapsulated that whole like douchey like Hollywood executive type. I thought it was great.
I've got to watch that again. I liked Happiness. I liked Todd Solondz. You know who did Welcome to
Oh,
the Dollhouse?
oh, really?
Oh, I do. I did.
Oh,
I
I
do.
watched that movie and I felt like I had to take a shower afterwards. I was like, "Ugh,
Oh,
no way.
oh yeah. I like Todd Solondz. I like
Ugh.
Happiness. I like
All
Happiness.
right, well, everybody have a good night.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a
No, I
sicko.
couldn't do it. That was one of those ones where it was like Requiem for a Dream, where it's like you watch it once and you're like, don't need to see it again.
That's
Thanks.
so funny. I bought
But
it. I bought it on a DVD not too long ago. So I'm like, I just
oh,
want to see this again. Like, what is it that I liked about it? Like I like
wow.
multi-character things though too. But like, I mean, I love
Sure.
Albert Brooks. I thought Defending Your Life was so funny, and I love Lost in America. Um, I'd like to watch Crimes and Misdemeanors, but I don't. Again, but I don't know how to get it. It's hard to. I don't know how to watch it.
It's
Um,
Woody Allen, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I haven't seen that one. I really liked Hannah and her sisters. I thought that was a good one.
yeah. That's a good one. I like Hannah and her sisters too. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good movies. It's too bad I just watch murder shows to know. What do you think recently is a good one? Like what kind of horror film should I watch? Like I'm not a horror person. Like should I rent
I mean,
things?
if you like those murder shows, you might like a lot of like Dario Argento's films. Like he was an Italian filmmaker, but they're not subtitled. They're always dubbed, so that's good.
Oh,
Um, and they're really like he did the original Suspiria, which is not technically a giallo film, but it has elements of that. And giallo means yellow in Italian, and they made these like movies based on these pulp novels that they would find. They were like dime store like trashy novels, but he really just takes them and elevates the material to where it's, there's always this like killer with a black glove, and there's always these things that are characteristic of those films. It can be like a it's always somebody that's like an American or an English person or somebody that doesn't necessarily live in Italy. So that's kind of characteristic of it. And it's almost like a murder mystery, like a Scooby Doo type thing, like who done it type situation. So they're a lot of fun. If you got Tubi, they're on Tubi.
I don't have
Which
Tubi.
you don't have Tubi?
Should I get Tubi?
It's free.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh.
You'll find a whole slew of like good movies on there too. I mean, a lot of people trash on Tubi, but like I love I
Oh,
love kind of like B movies and stuff that not a lot of people talk about, and so it's a whole just cascade of those kinds of movies on there, and especially with horror too. Like it's fantastic. It's free. It's got advertisements, but it's not anything too egregious. Like Sony had one a while ago. It was called Crackle, and it was just advertisements every like 5 minutes, and I just got rid of it. I was like, "Fuck this! This is
well,
awful." But
well, that's what made my YouTube easier. I started paying for the YouTube thing so I didn't get the commercials. And now
yeah,
I think I love YouTube more than I like any other.
same.
Oh, you know what I was watching though before I went to bed, before I got back into the Friday Night Light murder things that I was watching? I was watching there was something about various people's all kinds of I do reels. Now that's
Mm.
not good to do in bed. Like I'm going like this, and then if you fall asleep in a reel, you wake up with the same reel going because it just sticks over and over. And I
Yeah.
think that must be fucked up. Like just fucked up. Like you're listening to the same shit like on repeat.
I'll tell you something. I was I was going to go to Vegas and have a good time out there, and I called some numbers, and then I noticed on my YouTube reels, I wasn't even watching YouTube, and it was showing like fucking like 57th Street Latinas, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I never even looked this up on YouTube, so I think it was the algorithm just fucking with me.
Yeah.
So, but as far as like newer stuff is concerned, there's a lot of really good like psychological horror movies that are out there.
Tell me
A20 Okay, so A24 I think is one of the best as far as like their art house like horror. Like they did Hereditary, Midsommar,
Oh, I
gosh, what
watched
else
the
have they done?
Midsummer. I watched that
Oh
one.
yeah, that was terrifying. I caught that in God, where was I? Oh, I don't even remember, Brentwood or Westwood or something at the theater there. And it's, in the daytime. So when I walked outside, I was like, the movie takes place during the day, and it was completely disorienting and scary at the same time. And
You know where I felt, when I felt that one time I went and saw The Game by myself. I like the movie The Game.
is that the one with Robert De Niro?
No, Michael Douglas.
Oh, Michael Douglas. That's right.
But I remember seeing that and it went dark, and it's sometimes disconcerting when you leave a theater and like it goes from day to light, night or like something.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's another time thing. Like what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. We caught, what was it, Mandy over at the Chinese theater. And I remember just walking out of there, and not Mandy, excuse me, Mother. And it was just completely, because the movie has this kind of sense of claustrophobia. I don't know if you've ever saw it with Jennifer Lawrence and
Yeah, I bought it, but I don't know much about it. Maybe I need to. Should I watch it again or no?
yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. It very like claustrophobic. There's a lot of people in the house, and I remember we walked out onto Hollywood Boulevard. I saw it with some other people I was podcasting with, and it was just like we felt like this massive anxiety because there was all these people out front of the Chinese. It was insane. But I got a bunch of good horror movies I could recommend to you. But Well, one thing that I like to do too, and I mentioned this, and I don't know why my mic's shifting, but I have a merchandising company called Hell's Heart Merch Co. As you can see down in the bottom there, hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. And like I said, we do movie themed inspired t shirts. But the logo t shirt is right here. That's Hell's Heart, the black flag mock right there. And then there's the Steve McQueen mock that I'm wearing right now from Bullet. Psycho 2. That's a good one. I think
Is that your
if you haven't,
girlfriend?
no, I wish.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
she's just a girl that I creatively collaborated with. I try to keep it pro, like I probably could have asked her out, but
But she's a
I've
real
been,
human. She's not
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
looks
yeah.
like
No,
she's a. She looks like she's a kind of a juicier mannequin. She looks like she could be
no,
fake.
no. I actually shot these pictures.
Oh,
And yeah, she's a really sweet girl. But like I said, I've been trying to keep it pro with people that I work in the professional
I
field
don't
with.
blame you. Hey,
Yeah,
I'm taking a look at her from this side. Ooh,
yeah, and then this is the Scream Tatum mock right there. It's glow in the dark. It's a fantastic one. And then you got Randy from Scream 2, glow in the dark, which apparently Jamie Kennedy didn't like this shirt. I've heard that he actually saw it and he's like, "Why am I dead? Why am I dead in the bottom?" And it's like, "Cause that's
I
what
can't
happens in the
tell.
movie."
I can't see him. He looks like he's mushed.
Yeah, it's a
Wait,
scene from the movie where he gets like
which one?
slashed up.
Which one?
Uh,
The bottom
the
box?
second one. Yeah, yeah, the bottom part, he's all cut up.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, he didn't like it too much, but I told him I could cut out the bottom, so uh, so it wouldn't have that part in there. But yeah, everybody, like I said, go over to Hell's Heart, co.bigcartel.com, pick up a shirt. That would be a great way to support me. They're really fantastic, high quality shirts. Like I said, 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon, and they feel amazing. I don't really like wearing other shirts anymore. I just think
Really?
they feel, oh yeah, they're
I
like,
mean, I like that you say that the softness is it really soft with all that polyester in there?
yeah, it feels great. Like it's just I don't like wearing other shirts now. It
Hey,
doesn't do it for
wonderful.
me.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Tell me about your
Yeah.
necklace. What's going on?
Oh, this is I'm a practicing Hare Krishna. I say practicing, meaning I'm not very good at it, but this is a initiation beads that I got when I went over to India. So, yeah, I still
You
wear
have one
those
like
because
tucked to hair right there when you take
I
your hair.
did actually.
Really?
I lived 2 years as a monk. Yeah, I'll send you the picture. I lived 2 years as a celibate monk, and probably one of the best times in my entire life. Truthfully, very little to worry about. Had no technology, nothing,
In
and all I
India
had
or
to
here?
well, I did it here, but I went to India for a brief period of time as well, probably about 3 months. But yeah, it was a great experience. I actually thought about going back to it a few times just because it
Really?
was such low stress. Yeah, it was great. It was
What'd your
fantastic.
parents think?
They loved it. They thought it was very enriching for me. They've never had any really negative things to say about it, and
That's so
they've kind of let me
nice.
steer my own ship. Yeah, it's great. It's
Well,
fantastic.
we were
But
talking about that earlier. It's better to let your children steer their own ship than try to steer it for them. You know,
well, sometimes they can steer it in the wrong direction, and I know all about that.
that's
So,
what I'm talking
um,
about.
yeah. So sometimes having parental guidance is good. But is there anything you wanted to plug as far as upcoming projects in your world?
Oh no, just if you see me on the exit, I'm doing a show, but apparently this weekend it's sold out. But in which
Oh,
I'm happy about. But
that's good.
um, I know, but it's not because of me. It's but I'm in it, so that's
That means there'll be people there, though.
I know, which I'm not used to. Like I when I think that there's going to be nobody, there's people, and then I freak out. Like so. It's nice to know ahead of time. Like okay, because usually I think, oh, no one's coming, but um, no, just if you see me on the exit ramp, give me $1, and I'll give it to someone who might, whatever. Maybe I'll earn it, but I'll try to earn $1. If you see
Yeah.
me, in North Hollywood at an exit ramp telling a joke.
Who's the show with?
the show, it's Ladies of Laughter. This woman started like a Jewish comedy festival. So like I'm doing this show on Saturday with Kathy Ladman. I don't know if you know her. She was a comic from yesteryear. Judy Carter, who's written remember Judy Carter, who's written all those comedy books. She
So yeah.
writes, comedy book. A woman named Aura Mash, and then another woman named Becca. But I think it's Judy and Kathy that are selling the tickets. But or maybe that's just because it's a Saturday night show. But like I'm already thinking that this crowd is going to be like 60 up, if not older. I'm like, can I do my Hitler jokes?
You
Maybe
got
I.
Hitler jokes.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. As a Jewish person, you've got to have some.
How do you feel about? I've heard Jewish jokes tell Hitler jokes before, and it just seems like I'm like, wow, they're really brave for doing this.
Well, I mean, I think that it's kind of like, I feel like it's the same as the N word. Like it's like you're reacting to your own culture's things and you find different ways of using that. Well, what was I thinking though about that? Like, I feel like that Jews don't do a lot of swastika jokes, but they do more Hitler jokes. And what was my though? I felt like I used to have like kind of a connection, thinking that they say a lot of N word, but you don't hear a lot. I forgot what I was. I remember when I was thinking because when I had Sirius XM and I'd listen to rap music and I just hear it all over the place. But I was thinking that there's something else that they don't talk about, but they say the N word, but they don't say something else. And like, I feel like it's like we find what's comfortable within your culture. Maybe not everybody thinks it is. I'm sure like not everybody like likes that, that rap music has that, even if you're black, they might be like, why is this like that? Like, what are you doing?
It always confounded me as a kid. I'm like, why are they saying? I'm like, that's such a horrible word, like, and they're like, no, they're like taking ownership of it, and it's like they're calling themselves brother and stuff like dude and stuff like that. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, okay. Listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony when I was a kid, like it just astounded me.
Do they say it?
Oh, like every other word.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Where can we see the show at?
It's at the Ice House.
Okay. And that's where?
I think it's in Pasadena on Mentor Avenue or Mentor Street. I haven't been, apparently they redid the Ice House. I've never performed there. So I'm, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Send me a flyer later and I'll definitely repost it out there.
Well, the Saturday show's sold out.
Oh, well then never mind.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other ones if you want to come. There's a podcasting thing that they need to get people to, and then there's
Absolutely.
an improv thing on Thursday night, and then they're honoring, Gilda. I think somebody from Gilda Radner's family is getting an award for because this is the first time they've done this festival, so then they're giving out a Gilda award.
Rosanna Dana Award, is that what?
Yeah. Emily Latella, Rosanna Dana, Baba Wawa.
That's fantastic. Well, best of luck to you at the show. I think that's going to be an awesome opportunity. And any comedians you want to plug real quick?
Well, I love my Joe Bando because he suggested me. My friend Craig Spivak, Christine Blackburn, who's a good pal of mine, Alida J. I wish I knew all their, Instagrams. I just like all the, those are my friends,
Sure.
Yeah, that make the community nicer for me.
We will be sure to post all of your links, Instagram included, in the comments section. And I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. This has been fantastic. This has been a really great conversation. And, Joe knows how to pick them as far as who to have as far as good guests. And you're definitely invited back. I would love to have you back. So
yeah, we didn't have many lulls, did we?
No. That's the glory of doing this live is you got to kind of be on your feet, and
Well, I brought up therapy right away, so I kind of put myself right in. That's another thing I'd like to learn to say, like how to keep things. But you know what? Fuck it. It's like, what can I do? This is what I'm doing every day. So Well, otherwise I'd be pretending. You know what? Should I pretend that I'm structured and I know what I'm doing? I can't.
You'll get there someday, I think.
I hope so. I
You're
really.
on the right road, and we're all getting there, So it's a work in progress. It's a journey, So, but again, Abby Schachner, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody, like, comment, share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications. Hang out for a few minutes, and I'll get your info for whatever shirt you desire. Actually, as far as movie themed, you can get a podcast shirt. You can get one that says millions and billions and trillions.
I got a thrift shop. I cut the hood off though.
Oh, it's great. I love it. But everybody, thank you so much for joining in. Namaste, God bless, and be good, y'all.